Esther, welcome back and happy Easter. Look, the events of the last few weeks, there seems to finally be a thawing perhaps in the relationship between the Sussexes and the palace. We understand Harry is due to visit the UK soon. When is he due to arrive, and what can we expect perhaps by way of a reunion with the family?
Well, very happy Easter to you too. I think if the events of the last few weeks have shown us anything, it's that the relationship is anything but thawing. So we understand that the Sussexes were only informed of Princess Catherine's cancer diagnosis after the media had been informed. So after she'd released that video statement, we know that Harry is due to come to the UK in May to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the Invictus Games. We're not sure whether Meghan will be joining him. Obviously, his family coming to the UK has been a huge security concern for Prince Harry, and this is why he's taken the Home Office to court, and he subsequently lost his case. Meghan is marked as to be confirmed on the guest list, so she is on the guest list, but she hasn't yet confirmed, and we're not sure whether the children will join them as well. I think it really does. It is quite telling the fact that the Waleses didn't feel the need to tell Harry and Meghan about Princess Catherine's diagnosis. I think it shows that the trust is just completely gone, and I think it will take a while for the current status quo to decalcify, if you will. I'm personally of the opinion that for the Prince and Princess of Wales, Harry and Meghan are really not high on their priority list at all. You can imagine the kind of stress that just being around them and the potential of media of news leaks would cause, how much stress that would cause to Princess Catherine, and that's not a good thing given her current condition. So I actually suspect that there will probably be even a greater distance between the brothers' families now that William is prioritized with taking care of his wife and his father and taking on more duties alongside the Queen. I actually think this is probably the furthest that the Sussexes and the Waleses will be for a long time.
Now, we understand that Meghan is actually quite anxious about returning to England. And look, given how unedifying her behaviour has been over the last 2 years, it can hardly be a surprise that she's nervous about making landfall in the UK.
Well, I think she's made it clear that joining the royal family and taking on royal duties and kind of being part of the fold was not really something either she had thought through very well, or that her heart was really into. She's made a point of not returning to the UK, whether it's for the same security concerns that Prince Harry has. I'm not entirely sure. I suspect she knows her personal popularity in the UK as well is not very high. Fortunately, we're not the kind of country to throw eggs at someone, but I think you'll know if you're in a crowd and someone doesn't like you. And I don't think she's had much reason to come to the UK. She doesn't have a very good relationship with her in-laws. She's made it very clear that she's not fond of the institution. I'm actually surprised that she continues to use her title, particularly for her new brand, America Riviera Orchard, where it looks like she'll be the first royal to be selling pet food. But I don't think that she's very keen on the UK. I think the relationship has mutually soured. And I think it has less to do with security concerns and more to do with the fact that she knows her personal popularity is probably at its lowest here in the UK.
I did not have the first royal to sell pet food on my 2024 bingo card, so thank you so much for that, Esther. Now, the line of succession in the royal family is very clear. Harry was always going to be the spare. Now, there's been a report this week, and we understand that due to Harry having perhaps more limited financial prospects, he received a greater inheritance than William from the Queen Mother. Is that correct?
Yeah, so the Queen Mother, who died in 2002, left her estate, the vast majority of her £70 million estimated estate, to the Queen, obviously her daughter. But it is known that she actually left a bigger portion of trust, sort of access in money in a trust fund to Prince Harry because, of course, he was never meant to be king. I think people don't actually understand the personal wealth of Prince Harry. So alongside the inheritance left by the Queen Mother and his mother, Princess Diana, which has been estimated to, I think, £38 million. He's quite a wealthy man. It's again why I found it so baffling that he felt the need to do all the sort of Netflix stuff and all the kind of media flogging that he's been doing to allegedly pay for his family's security and upkeep. He's a very wealthy man, independently of any circumstances that happened to him. I mean, he mentioned in his book Spare that his father had cut him off. I mean, that's virtually impossible. He may have been cut off from his father's finances, but I suspect the inheritance left to him by the very generous inheritance, should I say, left to him by his mother, the late Princess Diana, and the late Queen Mother, is quite sizable indeed.
Huge news this week with a sex trafficking lawsuit being filed against US rapper P. Diddy. Obviously, these are just allegations at this stage, but some very serious allegations nonetheless. Now, if that news wasn't shocking enough, the lawsuit mentions Prince Harry. We understand he's not accused of any wrongdoing, but how on earth has Harry been engulfed in this mess?
Unfortunately, this looks like one of the downsides of being a prince. Everyone wants to be in your company. When Prince Harry was actually fun and had a personality, he used to hang with some sort of high rollers and high ballers in sort of the Hollywood royalty scene. And unfortunately, that included P. Diddy. Look, the lawsuit doesn't mention any wrongdoing on Prince Harry's part. I believe this is just a named association, and it's to prove a point that P. Diddy's association and ability to mingle with people like Prince Harry and like, the upper echelons of society, like the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncés, gave him some credibility to allegedly carry out the criminal acts that he's now being accused of. Fortunately for Prince Harry, he's not been accused of any actual wrongdoing. I think it was just to make a point. It's unfortunate that his name has been dragged. But Prince William has also been in the company of very famous people, other prince and princesses, celebrities. The late Queen had a well-known fondness for Marilyn Monroe. So unfortunately, if her name got caught up in something, it's very likely that the Queen's name might have been associated with it in one form or another.
Now, you mentioned it earlier, and we recently covered Harry's failed bid against the UK Home Office over the provision of personal security for the Sussexes. Now, this week we found out how much it cost the taxpayer. It's obscene, isn't it, Esther?
Yes, it's cost the taxpayer about £500,000. Now, many people are confused as to why Prince Harry is not going to pay the sum, considering he lost his legal bid. I'm not really sure why. Usually, it is sort of common for people that lose a law case to foot the bill of their defendants' legal bills, basically. But I suspect it's his right as a British citizen to contest any decision made by the Home Office, and apparently I suspect that falls under kind of legal aid. But it has cost the Home Office a lot of money. I think what most people actually will think is he thought this case one was strong enough to actually win, and he thought his case was important enough for him to take it all the way to court, basically. £500,000. I mean, if that's what the Home Office spent, I suspect he spent probably double that on a team of private lawyers who ultimately, it looks like, gave him ill advice because he's lost his case. The wider implications, obviously, is if he spent all this money and in the end he's lost the case, what's going to happen to his family? Is he going to bring them over? Is he going to spend less time in the UK? As a result, I can say that most members of the British public are not particularly bothered if they never see the Sussexes on British soil again. But it does have implications for Prince Harry. What is he going to do? What are his prospects? Is he just going to build a life in the US and focus on the Invictus Games and Meghan's pet food and chicken feed brand? We don't know.
Now on to Princess Catherine, and columnist Charlotte Griffiths have written a really compelling piece about how Princess Catherine's diagnosis shocked her into action to get her health checked. And while this has all been terrible for the princess, it appears to have done wonders for cancer awareness.
Absolutely. And, Princess Catherine and King Charles have both been praised by various cancer charities here in the UK for raising awareness. Them being open about their diagnosis, actually, it does have a spurring effect for the public to get more proactive with their own health, particularly in the case of King Charles, where the condition that he was treated for is very common. I mean, 9 in 10 men over the age of 75 suffer with enlarged prostate. So, it was really good for him to draw awareness to this quite common issue. And also many women, many people in the UK, unfortunately, will get diagnosed with cancer at some point. So it's very brave for Princess Catherine to have come out, especially after the barrage of abuse and conspiracy theories that she was subject to, especially by, so-called feminists that felt the need to bully this grown woman. The question now is what's actually going to happen happen with sort of this increased awareness. It's not a secret that the NHS is struggling to cope with funding cuts and long waiting lists. In the developed world, the UK has some of the lowest and poorest results for clinical outcomes when it comes to the vast majority of cancers. So even if there is increased awareness, will people actually be able to get the help that they need promptly? I don't suspect that will be the case.
Now, lastly, let's reach back to a historical royal scandal and the infamous relationship between Edward VIII and Wallis Simpson. And the UK Telegraph has unearthed some papers and has exclusively reported on a Whitehall plan that could have changed the course of royal history. Can you tell us what it was?
Thankfully, this plan didn't work, but you had members of Parliament trying to actually bribe Wallis Simpson to actually leave Prince Edward and then King Edward, because it was a constitutional scandal that of heights people had never seen before. But I think she felt strong armed by the king at the time, King Edward, to actually marry him. He obviously gave up his crown, and she is notably known to have been very upset about this. She said, "Don't give up your crown," but it was obviously too late. He did abdicate for her. The story between Wallis and Wallis Simpson and Prince Edward is very interesting. I mean, it harks in many ways. There's so many similarities, unfortunately, to Prince Harry and Meghan. An American divorcee that's somehow wormed her way into the royal family. Thankfully, Prince Harry is the spare and not the heir, because that would have been a headache I don't think anyone can handle. But she was known, after she'd fled to France with Prince Edward, to have written to her second husband, her second ex-husband, about how she missed him. There were letters that were uncovered allegedly about how she'd like to go back to her old life. This kind of adventurous fling with King Edward got too serious for her, and she actually bit off more than she could chew. Wallis Simpson was never a very straightforward or an uninteresting character, should I say.
That's one way to put it. Esther Krakue, thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.